What's the issue with it? How long you been there with the on Walker Drive?
Director of Fish. She probably has a bigger heart for this community than all of us in this room put together. Cindy and I have been friends since we worked together at Everett's Nursery. And girls, we call that back in the 1900s. And Cindy's going to give the invocation for us tonight. If you would please take the floor.
Okay. Just want to say a little something about pity is when we identify a problem, yet we do nothing. Compassion is when we identify a problem and we help. Christ-like compassion is when we identify a problem, we help without judgment. Let us pray.
Thank you.
Dear sweet Jesus, we just come to you and we say thank you. Thank you, dear Father, for the beautiful community that we get to live in. Thank you, Lord, for the safety that is, dear Father, that you help them to step outside of themselves and to see what's going on around them and how they can help. We pray, dear God, that you would help them have the ability, dear Father, to understand the domino effect of what their choices are and give them spiritual guidance, Father, as they make those decisions. We thank you for them, Lord. We thank you for their boldness. We thank you, dear Father, that they are willing to come and be in this position. We ask you now to bless this meeting, bless all those here, especially these precious children, dear Father. We thank you for the opportunity that we have each day to serve you. We ask you now to lead us, to guide us, and protect us. For these things we ask in Jesus' most loving and most precious name. And all God's sweet children said, Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Cindy. Many of you know with the government shutdown that we've been facing for the last, I think, 42 days, Cindy's been the one who's been pulling a lot of things together to keep our families fed. So thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for coming in. Yes, ma'am. Now, you might have noticed we have a much cuter audience than normal. We brought in the 9 and under Purple Hurricane cheerleaders. These young ladies have had competitions this season and brought back medals from both. So when you walked in and you heard them kind of clanking around, I think those were awards from the Battle of the Harvest. They took second place, and they won Best Dance of the 2025 Cheer Bowl. Hey, ladies, would you stand up and kind of come out here for me, please? No, you don't have to come up. You can, but I just meant right in front of here, if you don't mind. So here tonight we have McKinley Arrington, Cadence Pridemore, Allison Ansley, Carly Scott, Charlotte Daniels, Liara Galen, did I pronounce that right? Paris Irby, Shelby Colbaugh, Parker McGinley, Harper Lopreto, Annabelle Prescott, Frida Calvert, Chloe Bibican, and head coach is Amanda Scott, and Charlie McGinley is her assistant. Spirit fingers, everybody.
Oh, all right.
Hey. Okay. I think you're going to give us a couple of cheers or just one? Do we have one or two?
An excerpt from their routine that they won their awards for.
Okay, cool. Hey, all right.
Good Canes.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, all right.
That's great.
I think you all need to teach some of our high school cheerleaders how to do that, okay? Could you give these to your new coaches for me, please? Do we have another one first? We do? Okay. I don't want to interrupt the cheer. All right, thank you so much. Ladies, I appreciate your coming in. Y'all really are the cutest folks we've ever had.
Congratulations.
Thank you, ladies. I appreciate your coming in. And now, for those of you who came with them, this meeting's only going to last for 2 more hours, so keep your seat. They did great. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would be excited.
That's right.
Thank you. Okay, sometimes we start things a little bit out of order. Let the record reflect that all members of council are present, save Mr. Boyce. We do have to make one change to the agenda that was originally published. That's an item is moved to item F, the application for restaurant beer and wine consumption on premise at New York City Pizza. I need a motion to amend the agenda and to approve the agenda, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. The consent agenda this month is pretty short. It's the council minutes from October 14th and the September minutes from Planning Commission and Historic Preservation. I need a motion for the approval of the consent agenda, please.
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Crawford. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Meredith Green. Meredith with the YMCA, she had to run out all the kids out of the room before she could come take over.
Athletic endeavors make mine look pretty sad and insignificant, I guess.
Meredith is executive director of the YMCA. I think many of you have probably already met her. Swimmer at the University of Florida. Go Gators.
Go Gators.
We do celebrate our swim team today. We do not celebrate our football team. It's a tough crowd.
It is a tough crowd, but
So,
we're two-man strong.
no, all right. So how are things going at the Y?
They're going wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am.
First, I'd like to acknowledge Happy Veterans Day to anyone here that has served or anyone watching that has served. We would not be here and enjoying our freedom without those individuals. But yes, as he said, I am here as for an update with the Y. We opened April 10th. As some of you are well aware, some of you, I believe, are members and join us in, at all hours of the day, at 5 a.m., 8 p.m. We have people in the pool at 5:01 a.m. So that's very exciting. This summer, we had summer camp. It maxed out almost every week. It was pretty cool. Camp they swam every day, Monday through Thursday, and they received free swim lessons. All the kids in camp had that opportunity. And then on Fridays, they did a community day. So we had the Sheriff's Department bring their canine unit in, and they learned how the canines are trained and how they select the canines for their staff. And then we had the Cabinets Dairy Farm come in and bring baby cows in, bring calves in, so the kids can learn how hard it is to be a farmer and what all that entails. And they got to pet the calves and feed the calves. So that was pretty cool. They actually brought the calves to the YMCA. We had a former NFL player, Andre King, come and talked about his time in the NFL and what it takes to be successful, and ran some drills with the kids. We had the Sheriff's Department come out and do a fun field day with the kids, so they did a cookout and played football and some games with the kids. And then, of course, the greatest day of the summer was Mayor Howard did a reading day with the kids.
I know they thought that was probably the best day of the summer, too, I'm sure.
They had a great time. They had a great time. They made everybody cards, including our mayor. Our swim team, we currently have 47 swimmers and growing. So that's been very successful, and we just started a Special Olympics swim team as well. So they'll compete around the state with Georgia's Special Olympics program. And then this summer we taught, well, since we've opened, we've taught almost 600 swim lessons, which has been our big goal with the facility. That's been really our spotlight, is teaching kids to swim in the community. We have a partnership with Piedmont Walton Hospital. So they have provided us with a community education nurse. Her name is Susie Payne, and she's already made a huge impact. So she works out of our facility part-time, and she's currently running a Medicare 101 educational seminar on Thursdays. So there's another one coming up this Thursday. And it's open to the community, so seniors can come in and learn about open enrollment and kind of read through the fine print with Medicare and what to sign up for and how to really understand what you're getting, because it can be very confusing for seniors. And she also offers wellness screenings and blood pressure checks, and then she's going to bring in a bunch of educational seminars with experts from the hospital, like a nutritionist and a diabetes prevention program, a lot of resources that she has access to over there. And then this summer, something we're really proud of, we partnered with the Boys and Girls Club of Walton County, which has been a big goal of ours for years. And they came on Fridays to swim this summer at no charge. So Lynn Hill actually transported them over in their bus. They swam on Fridays, and then the last Friday we provided our Safety Around Water drowning prevention program for them, free of charge for them. So we provided that program to 40 children and taught them what to do if a friend falls in the water, how to make sure they help their friend but also stay safe, and what to do if they fall in the water. So that was pretty cool, and like I said, there's 40 children that participated in that, and that was all funded by donations and grants. And then, as far as our membership goes, we currently have 1,300 families that have joined, which is about 3,700 members. Actual people, and 57 of those families are on financial assistance. So it's a little over 20% of our memberships are on financial assistance of some sort. So, do y'all have any questions for me?
Are there any questions for Meredith? Have you worked out at the Y yet? I think this week, city employees have the opportunity to go work out.
Yeah, for free.
Any questions on this side?
It's
Well,
beautiful, wonderful facility.
And Meredith and I were talking last week. She said, "Hey, I'm coming to council for Leadership Walton." And I said, "Great, we're going to throw you on the agenda. So you're killing two birds with one stone." And I really do appreciate your working with Lynn to get the Boys and Girls
Yeah,
Clubs.
they were a lot of fun, and the counselors were awesome, and the kids seemed to have a good time.
We have far too many kids drowning in this area because they've never had that access. So I appreciate you doing that. All right, Meredith, thank you for coming in. And I signed your thing, and you don't even have to stay the whole time if you don't want to. Moving to business items, City Administrator Report, Mr. Probst.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few things here. Yesterday, we had a great little budget meeting. We'll be finalizing all the figures, Beth and I will, over the next couple weeks before we bring that to you next month on the agenda. And just to recap, we're looking at a very minor 2% overall budget increase. So within that total overall budget, we've just made a lot of cuts. We're operating extremely lean with staffing, and we're just trying to achieve maximum efficiencies while still creating the value needed for our citizens. So we're all rowing in the right direction. Appreciate everybody's help in getting there. Also noted was HB 746. You remember that was the bill, piece of local legislation dropped where we had the referendum on homestead tax exemptions. So that passed resoundingly as expected. So what that'll do in 2026 is reset our property tax levels back to 2024 levels for those eligible properties. The total impact of that right now still unknown. So the only increases that we'll be able to get from here on are based on CPI plus 0.25%. So we're going to have to monitor that really closely locally with the tax assessor and tax commissioner and kind of see where that falls, because right now we really have no idea what that's going to look like. Also, the truck connector is now open. It's not operating at 100%, as we all know, but we're hoping to get there. It's going to take a little bit of education to the public, to our businesses. We have to get the GPS systems updated. Only a handful are even showing the connector in place yet. I've already talked to GDOT District 1, asking for some additional assistance. Bruce Williamson is also trying to help us get a little bit more signage assistance and direction to use the truck route, even though this is currently a state route still. So trucks in some capacity right now still have the ability to use it. But we are working on an ordinance in the next month or two. It could be ready in December, but I really would feel more comfortable probably if it's January, so that we can have a companion ordinance with the county so that we can actually enforce heavy truck traffic through town. There are other jurisdictions that do this on state routes, but ultimately in the long run, our goal is to ask for it to be put off system. That means it becomes a city street, city infrastructure. That is a big liability that we would have to take, but I think we've talked about it for enough years now. We know that there's more value to it being ours and in our control and possession. So we've petitioned GDOT to have that happen. Again, Bruce Williamson is working with me on trying to push that through. It's just going to take time, like everything does with GDOT. So, furthermore, we're still working on signalization at 11 and 78. Our engineers had a meeting a couple weeks ago with GDOT in Atlanta at the major planning office. They sent them back again to the drawing board to add just a couple minor things in. They expect to have that signal permit sometime in December. So at least that's encouraging. From there, it goes to like a minor design and engineering, and then we will move towards a construction. I don't yet have the construction cost estimates, but I expect we'll be able to do that within the scope of probably our 2019 SPLOST. We still have some funds remaining that we've kind of been holding for this type of project. So we'll be bringing that to you hopefully in the near future.
Perfect. Thank you, Logan. Are there any questions, Mr. Probst? Thank you, sir. Mr. Bailey.
Thank you. And kind of the same, I feel like we reviewed a lot of this yesterday, but I'll still go through some things. And then there was a question that we talked about yesterday on a few things that I'll update. Airport CIP was applied for. November 5th was the deadline, and that's our next 5-year plan for the airport as far as applications for federal and state grant funds. It'll include everything from obstruction removal that we're continuing to runway, taxiway lighting to expansion potentially of Richard Parsons Road in the next 5 years to pick up a little bit of development there. Our town green through October of this year has seen 123,000 visitors. And we did the math, 15,000 of that was at the concerts this year, so that's a lot of activity at the green, just visiting on a daily basis to the splash pad and various other events that we've had. Next month, we will see, because of the passage of House Bill 137, I'll bring procurement policy to you guys with a couple of changes to follow new state law. And then our stormwater master plan, our maintenance policy portion of it, we'll bring to council next month to actually pass that and put in place a new policy that we'll follow that we can post online. And then the question yesterday, Ms. Malcolm, we were talking about sidewalk rehabilitation. I told you I'd have the numbers tonight of exactly. Since 2021, we have replaced 12,435 feet of sidewalk that existed in town. So quite a bit of rehabilitation. And then just for fun, we always talk about LMIG and LRA project funding. Since 2020, we have actually milled, repaved, overlaid 77,196 feet of streets throughout town. So the equivalent of 14.62 miles. A lot of work that's been done in our city through grant funds. Leaf season, one of the favorite times of the year, started Monday after we had this weekend, a lot of wind and a little bit of weather come through and started dropping leaves. So that'll pick up. We'll update it on social media as we can, and as we kind of see that we're getting backed up on schedule, which is going to happen early as everything falls at once. Sadly, we can't schedule that. It'd be nice if we could. TAP grant, you can see, is going on. It looks like a little bit of a road course outside with a lot of orange barrels on Broad, Highland, and Lumpkin. We're working with contractors to kind of try to lessen the amount of barrels that they have out. And then we're working on relocating the storage of their material and equipment. We're meeting with them tomorrow, actually. The other couple of things, Farm to Table, we had on October 26th. We sold 175 tickets, so that raised the equivalent of about $18,000, which is the biggest fundraiser we have for our market that's held on Court Street throughout the year, about 2/3 to 3/4 of the year actually now. November 20th, Bikes, Trikes, and Magical Lights Parade will start in Childers Park between Streets Park, Central Services, putting up lights as fast as we can. And then Mr. Steele's favorite event of the year, the Christmas Parade, will be on December 4th. We had our planning meeting this morning. We've got, I think, 81 entries this year, so it will be a big parade as always. And I'll be glad to take any questions.
Did we have to turn people away?
We did.
Entries?
Yes,
We did. Yeah, we had probably about 90, 95 applicants is what it looked like. And we would love to see that number somewhere around 65 or 70, but it's hard to cut away everybody. So, yeah, we do the best we can and make a few people mad in the process.
Are there any more questions for Mr. Bailey?
Did you say what time the bikes and trikes?
6 o'clock. Yes, ma'am, and then it'll go through, obviously, as every year, through the end of the year, 6 to 9 every night, roughly.
Those guys have already been working hard. I mean, it looks great over there. Thank you, Mr. Bailey. Moving to new business, public hearing for special exception to variance number 4060 at 250 Highway 138 to increase the maximum amount of allowed parking. Mr. Callender.
Thank you, Mayor. This is for the property at Tokyo Restaurant. It is 250 Highway 138. I believe you saw this recently for a final plat, and that's what's illustrated on the screen. Behind you are the 3 lots that you recently approved. And so the request before you tonight is for basically what is now the Tokyo lot. They're asking for a special exception variance to increase parking on their site, which is allowed in your ordinance to, when you're going above the 120%, trying to get the slide to move forward there. Yeah, when you're going above the 120% mark in your ordinance, they have to ask for a special exception variance from this council. So they're proposing to add parking behind the building now. They had originally planned for this parking originally. They just did not construct it at the time to save expense and cost on the development of their site. The unique operation of their facility, they have a lot of staff, they have a lot of seats in their restaurant. It warrants their having a lot of parking spaces on their property. And so they have got a lot of parking spaces. Basically, there are 113 total count if they develop it with this variance, and that would be at 232% of our parking maximum. They are in compliance with your current corridor design overlay district. They've already developed to those minimums, which is your building forwarding on the 138 corridor there. So they are in compliance with all those requirements. This is adding the parking lot to the rear. And due to the unique aspects of their restaurant operations, we didn't see an issue with recommendation of approval of the variance as submitted without conditions. And that's all that I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Callender. Is the applicant here? Not seeing him, and we do have a limited crowd, but I do have to ask this to make it official to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who'd like to speak in favor of this variance for parking? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against the variance for parking? Hearing none, we'll declare that portion of the meeting closed and move to the hardship variance 4062 at 109 Walker Drive to eliminate paving requirement for the material storage yard loading and unloading areas and on-site parking. Mr. Callender.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a request to eliminate paving requirements in your zoning ordinance for loading and unloading areas, parking areas, and for outdoor and outside storage areas on their site. So the plan that's presented to you is for an existing building to be converted to an office on the site, but they're asking to convert the remainder of the property into a outdoor wholesale landscaping supply business that is a permitted use in the B3 zoning district. It's also permitted use in the M1 zoning district. But what they're proposing to you tonight is to allow that use to have unpaved elements of their property. And those 3 specific zoning categories deal with the surface parking areas. That's in section 520, which is parking spaces have to be paved. They're asking for the entire section of 530 to be eliminated, which is basically all your commercial unloading and loading zones. And then 1105 deals with outdoor storage of services and materials. Those elements are supposed to be indoors, but in this case, there are exceptions made to how those things outside, but that would imply that those have to be paved. And so they're asking for those variances from those three sections. And so the Planning Commission recommendation was denial of the hardship variance, but I need to go through the steps of those really quick. The standards of the hardship variances to make it a little clearer why the denial was recommended. So in your hardship variance standards inside the zoning ordinance itself, there are 10 tests that must be applied for a hardship variance. One, in the standards themselves, you have 4 that begin the standards for the hardship variance approval. Is there anything extraordinary about the property? In this case, is it the size, shape, or topography? The answer is that does not exist. This is a square property. The topography is very level, and there's nothing unusual about the shape of the property or its size. So it's adequate to meet our zoning ordinance. There are no constraints. And the second test is there a little application of this ordinance to the subject property creating an unnecessary hardship? That does not exist, because they could pave the site, comply with your ordinance, and they would not need a hardship variance. The third test would be, are there any conditions peculiar to the subject property? There are no extreme conditions like number 1 that exist that prevent them from compliance. They simply are asking to not do the things that are required in the ordinance. And then 4, is there a detriment to the public good if this is approved? The answer is that does not exist as well, because a precedent would obviously be established for non-residential uses in the city if they're allowed to unpave their site and not follow any of the rules for paving a non-residential property. So they don't meet any of the 4 conditions for standards for hardship variance approval. And then you have the limitations on granting a hardship variance. So there's 6 of these. So the first one is the condition being created by the applicant? And the answer is true. They're asking you for basically to not follow the ordinance. So they're creating the condition to not follow the ordinance. That is a result of their own creation. Number 2 does not apply to them because this is not a zoning change. They're not asking for any changes to any conditions of any previous zoning, so that does not apply. Number 3, are they conferring a special privilege to this property? The answer to that would be true, because everyone else in the city who's developing these properties would have to follow the rules of Section 520, 530, and 1105. And then in this case, number 4, this was elaborated further inside the Planning Commission meeting itself and not in their application materials, but they are proposing to have a use on the property that is likely not permitted within our zoning ordinance for the B3 zoning district. They mentioned at the Planning Commission meeting, and this is reflected in the minutes, that they are going to allow retail sales of the wholesale landscape supply business. So retail is not permitted in this business. It's a wholesale only. So they mentioned at the meeting that they would allow anyone to enter the site and purchase the material, or they would deliver it on a retail basis. That would be true in this statement here, is that we're permitting a use of land that is not allowed in your zoning ordinance under Table 4. And then 5 is that it isn't consistent with our construction and design standards. Obviously, if you don't allow paving on the site, that would be inconsistent with our requirements to pave. So they don't meet 4 of the 6 requirements there, and the last one is not applicable. So the bottom line is that those 4 items there are true, and the reality is that for this hardship variance, it's an unqualified hardship variance request. And that's the ultimate reason for the recommendation for denial. And that's all that I have, Mr. Barrett.
Thank you, Mr. Callender. Is the applicant here? Hearing none, I'll declare this portion of the meeting open for the purpose of public input. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of allowing this variance? Is there anyone here who would like to speak against allowing the variance? I'll declare this portion of the meeting closed. We will be back to visit in just a second. Moving to new business, special exception variance, 4060 250 Highway 138, increase the maximum amount of allowed parking. Mr. Callender just discussed. Are there any questions for Brad? Any comments? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mr. Gregory. And thank you, Mr. Thompson. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the hardship variance, number 4062, 109 Walker Drive, also just discussed by Brad. Is there any discussion, any comments, any questions? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, as far as it being
And unfortunately, they're not here to answer that question, but at the Planning Commission meeting, they explicitly stated they would move from wholesale to retail ultimately to provide customer service directly to customers' homes. So you could order yourself to your house a order of mulch or sand or whatever that they're gonna supply at their business. So that would not be a wholesale business. Wholesale would be truck to truck, dump truck to dump truck, sort of a level business, or dump truck to landscaper sort of level business, not directly from wholesale to the end user, which would be you at your home. So they were proposing to do that in the planning commission meeting. That's a good question. This was a pretty robust discussion that we had at the planning commission meeting about the use in general, about it being wholesale or retail. Really, the issues were, in this case, and I can get into the meat and potatoes of that. So, there's a house that's literally right here, and what we talked about at the planning commission meeting was an edge effect issue that deals with, what you've got is you've got zoning that goes back to 1972 here. So you've got R1A, and if you can look on the screen to the right here. So you have, homes down Walker Drive as you go west. These are all R1A. They've been homes for years. So when we adopted zoning in 1972, someone identified that, this even amount of distance as being appropriate for commercial along this corridor here. At some point, this property was probably subdivided. But I don't think anyone anticipated an intense use over all these years, the 50 or so years that we've had a zoning ordinance, when a land use such as wholesale landscape supply that is allowed in M1 and B3, I don't think anyone ever anticipated someone coming up to the city of Monroe and saying, I want to stick that on half an acre, or half an acre off of the main road on Walker Drive. So I think the issue is, to get to the point about getting it unpaved or paved, I think regardless of the use, anything that they're going to put on this property, I think will need to be paved, to answer that question about paving, whether it's going to be a salon or commercial, because what we talked about the planning commissioning was a legacy. Once this gentleman is through with the property, you're left with an unpaved problem that we will continue to deal with, whether this going to be this gentleman or the next gentleman or the next gentleman. So these are the legacy properties in our city that are unpaved, and legacies aren't necessarily a tragedy, but when someone's presenting something new to you, compliance is necessary at that point to come into compliance with our current code.
I have a motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Dixon.
Move to deny.
A motion by Mr. Dickinson to deny. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Thank you, everybody. Ordinance for approval of the speed detection devices, Mr. Probst.
Thank you, Mayor. So before you is just a general ordinance that we have to do every few years to, in order to run traffic control and enforcement. And you have the meets and bounds of all the city streets on system, off system there in your packet. I don't think a lot changed, a little bit on Baker Street, I believe, this year. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same series of streets. MPD's gone through it, Streets has gone through it, Legal's gone through it. So if you have any questions, just feel free to ask.
Are there any questions? I do. We haven't taken over Baker Street and the new portion of that road, have we?
So, yeah, part of that is the city street that we had to amend on those meets and bounds of the newly paved portion.
But the new portion, is it ours yet? Because it
That's a complicated matter.
needs some lights.
That is a complicated matter. The county went in, as you know, and did all the improvements there. But it is within the city. It was a city street, so, well, it was a portion of a city street.
Right.
So, but it is completely within the city. So that's one of those things that we're trying to get worked out with the county is total ownership. We had a similar issue on Piedmont Parkway.
Right.
So that's one of those things that's in progress, but nevertheless, it really shouldn't affect the ordinance here.
The speed, okay. Well, just
I have-
timing was curious.
I just have one question. There's a two-way stop at Hammond and Baker. And I've been through there quite a bit lately, and the speed on Hammond coming through there is extreme. Is there any way we could consider or do a traffic study on making that a four-way stop right there?
I mean, we can definitely.
Just considering that there's gonna be a higher volume of traffic with the jail being there.
We can look at the metrics on that.
I think it might be, worthwhile to take time to look at that and see.
Any other comments? I'll ask for a motion, please.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Sams. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Health insurance renewal. This is a good one, Logan.
The most fun thing we do all year. I'll just go ahead and take this one. Normally, we have John Leggett here with MSI Benefits Group. He did a great job for us this year. So to brief you, earlier this year, we went through and said, hey, are we getting the best service, best price, best everything from our brokers? We went through and interviewed a whole bunch of brokers early this summer. And we came out in the end and chose to stick with MSI. And I guess, that little bit of fire to them, they really did a good job for us this year. So we went through the whole process for our health insurance coverage. And just to give you the 100,000-foot view, we were very, very fortunate to receive a renewal of only 3.57% over the current 2025 plan. In doing so, we are going to be making a move from Meritain Aetna over to a new company called Cisco as the third-party administrator under Cigna Benefits Group. They're going to be the main provider, but our prescription and all the ancillary coverages, all of those are going to remain the same. The only other change will be to our flexible spending accounts. It'll be managed by Cisco, and I hope we'll get a whole lot better service under them. This group cost about $40,000 more in their management, but their bill review is so much more stringent. So we hope that we're going to save probably around $300,000 to $400,000 in better bill review. So we've all gone through it. Sarah, Paula, myself, Les, Beth. We've really gone through these plan options for next year, and I know what everybody else is thinking. Like, how much more is it going to cost us? The employee deductions are going to increase by 2%, which is still pretty reasonable and very fair for our employees. So you can see here, an employee-only deduction goes from $15.52 up to $15.83. Employee families goes from $199.51 to $203.50. New for this year, we're also giving employees an option, because I always like to give as many options as possible, for a high deductible plan. It is a very low cost on the front end, employee deductions, but it carries a greater risk of that high deductible, okay? But we listened to our employees, and some have asked for such a plan option, and we're able to deliver that without any negative consequences to the rest of our plan design. So we're happy with that. That's it in a nutshell. So we would recommend that you kind of improve all of the benefits listed here on the cover sheet, that we go with the MSI benefits to contract with Crum & Foster for reinsurance, right? By the way, we have no lasers this year. I know we get in deep about lasers. No lasers, which is phenomenal. It saves us a lot of money. Crum & Foster, Veracity, Cigna, Delta Dental, Standard, and MetLife as those ancillary coverages. So that's our request to you. And this will start on January 1st, 2026.
Thank you, Mr. Probst. Are there any questions, any comments?
I'll be interested in seeing how many take that high deductible.
Yeah, I don't expect a lot, but I would highly encourage all of our employees to carefully consider it.
Educate themselves on it.
Educate, right? So we have open enrollment at the end of the week, right? What's the date, Sarah? 13th, there we go. Just a couple days, so I want everybody to come in, get educated on these plans, and just make the best decision.
Thank you, Logan.
Make a motion for the companies that Mr. Probst just listed.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson.
Second.
So, thank you, Mr. Dickinson. Is there any discussion? Sarah and Paul, I know y'all been working hard on this, and thank Beth for us too. Or you're about to work hard on it, how's that? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the adoption of language access plan, Ms. Thompson. Oh, and Beth, thank you for working on it, sorry. You were out of my field of vision that way.
I don't know, I'll just make sure it gets paid. So this is just a resolution to adopt the language access plan. This is a requirement of our community development block grant, which is through Department of Community Affairs. So this is just a process that we have to do for each grant through DCA. It's just to adopt the language access plan.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Beth? I'll entertain a motion. Thank you, Mr. Gregory. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Brown. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to the application of the restaurant beer and wine consumption on premise at NYC Pizza. Mr. Rosenthal.
Yes, Mayor, that application is in order.
That's great. Are there any questions for Paul? I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Ms. Malcolm. Is there a second? Thank you, Ms. Crawford. Is there any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries, that passes. Moving to district items. Ms. Malcolm.
I don't really have anything at the moment.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford. Ms. Sams. Ms. Brown.
Nothing at this time.
I'm glad you're here. We've been praying for you. Mr. Gregory.
I'd just like to say that the striping in the Mill Village looks fantastic. Thanks, everybody, for that. And then looking forward to those new stop signs. We see them marked out and stopped out and everything else. Everybody's excited about it. Just looking forward to stopping a few feet later.
And your brown historic signs.
But seriously, thanks for everything you guys do. Appreciate you taking care of us.
Mr. Thompson.
Nothing for District 7.
Mr. Dickinson.
Nothing further, Mr. Mayor.
Well, thank you. I have a few. Mike, you got me? Last month, I don't see him. Last month, I was so excited with the next announcement. It's always fun when somebody on our team has a baby. In this particular case, a grandbaby. If you'll look over here, over my shoulder, the little girl is Walker Rose Brown. She's the grandbaby of Brandon Brown and his bride, Kim. He's going to be known as Papa BB. She was born on October 1st, and she is just beautiful. Rodney and Ashley Middlebrooks are also new grandparents as of November 5th. Cooper Thomas Akridge was welcomed to the world, and he is the boy on the screen to the right. So I think it's just cool when we can add some. And I don't have pictures of Caitlin's new son, Charlie, but if you look on Facebook, you can see a video of the boys so excited when they walk in and meet him for the first time. So congratulations to Caitlin. And then finally, in the recent forum that was held by the Chamber of Commerce, there were some things that were mentioned that were frankly, they were defamatory of a candidate, and they were defamatory of the city council. So I went back and it looked at votes and contracts regarding the rental of the community center to the Monroe Country Day School. The vote in that meeting, you may recall, was 5-2 in a public meeting. Now, when we go into executive session, we discuss things, and it has to be either real estate or human resources related, including potential legal issues. But when we come out, everything we do is in public, and people can see us here, you can see us in video online. If you want to go back on YouTube, you can read that too, or watch that too. But either way, it did pass 5-2. Mr. Dickinson, his wife is the principal of that school, but it is a nonprofit. I think in the meeting it was expressed that it was done specifically for one person, and it just chapped me to no end because our council does not behave like that. And then he recused himself in the discussion during executive session. He recused himself during the vote as well. Everything is above board. Now, I'll tell you that their first year, they spent $158,000 in improvements to that building. We've been losing $50,000 a year. The first year, their rent was $20,000. Sounds minimal, but when they put $150,000 into it, that's fair. Since then, they've gone up almost 300% in 5 years. And right now, they're paying about $55,000 a year plus utilities. So I'm not saying this as much for your interest as much as anybody who wants to watch this on YouTube or might be watching it live. Just know we're going to do the right thing in the city of Monroe. And I do not want anybody to think that we're going to do anything that would be under the table or against the law, because that's just not going to happen. Okay? Now I need a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll move, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Thompson. Second? Ms. Brown, did I hear your voice? Or was that Sam's? Thank you, Julie. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That passes. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate you being here.
No